Brique is a community organization that aims to develop social housing in the neighborhood of Park Extension. And we want to build affordable housing in order to bring people together and value their cultures and their very beautiful ways of being. We needed to build an organization that was able to support itself and provide really basic and existential services to people who look like us and to people that inspire us. The struggle in community organizations, one of the big struggles, is mobilisation, outreach. And outreach is relatively easy to do for those people in our communities that are the most confident. There are people who are like, I recognize that I need support, and I'm going to reach out and accept this service and work with these organizations. But those are people who are easiest to reach. The people who are the hardest to reach are people who don't leave their houses. And those are also the people who could benefit the most from support. So by basing our work in housing, it makes it a lot easier. That's the perspective that we're coming from. Social housing as a vehicle for social change. There's a whole lineage there, but there's also a personal aspect to it, you know, because I feel like, I guess I've been looking for home all my life, you know, and it's a bit like intergenerational, because my parents also, like, they were also looking for home. They came from Africa. Africa was not even their homeland. Their grandparents came from India because of colonial violence there, so it's almost like I can't help it, you know. Brick by brick comes from colonialism, you know. It's the outcome of that, and I hope that it's an effective bomb in the center of the empire. It's actually just a loan. It's a solidarity loan from anybody, from you guys. Anybody can buy and say, okay, I want to invest part of my money in green bonds and part of my money in an RSP and part of my money in this brick by brick community bond. And after 15 years, when the building has increased in value, I'll get paid back because brick by brick will be able to refinance the building and make that work. That's not how we're doing our first project, but in theory, that's how it's supposed to work. And if you can do it at a large enough scale, it does work. And actually, many private developers now function that way. They issue shares of real estate investment trusts. While you're angry at the developers and the market and the industry and real estate, your money is in the bank, your money is in a real estate, in a mutual fund, your money is in RSP, and those interests that you earn because they're being lent out to those developers. Like real estate developers, they leverage almost 100%. Almost the whole development is just borrowed money, and they're borrowing it from us, from retirement funds, from, you know, RSPs and stuff. The prices went up so fast and so quickly for a number of reasons you guys know. It has to do with the university, it has to do with the AI sector booming, it has to do with the economy booming in general, and also gentrification in other areas that made it so that people who couldn't afford to live one neighborhood or two neighborhoods down were like, well, let's just move here. It's nice, it's cheap, and we get more square footage, and we're near the park and the metro. So the prices went up, and the timeline for our ability to repay our investors was all messed up. We weren't able to issue bonds and promise a 15-year payback because we were overpaying by so much, and the number of units we were able to get was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. when we first had, and it was hard because I started shopping, I started prospecting when we didn't have all the cash. So I was making offers and losing because I wasn't able to convince the seller that I had enough cash. I was making offers on 20 units. By the time I had all the cash from the bonds, which I'm selling at the same time as I'm doing all the real estate work that I had no qualification to do, that I learned while doing, the cash started going up, but the number of units that I could afford came down. The fact that we were really organized, that we knew what we were talking about with the numbers, and it seemed that we were really organized, and we worked with the tenants' rights group and pushed the housing agenda in the neighborhood, made it so that when the political landscape shifted with Projet Montréal or whatever, and there was a commitment to building social housing, the city picked up a lot and committed to selling it to us at a discount, which we don't even have to pay anyway because Quebec City is going to pay for. So anyway, it all worked out, but it didn't work out because of the model that we developed. It just worked out literally because of our commitment. It doesn't mean that the model doesn't work, and it doesn't mean that there's no potential for leveraging shared assets, for pooling resources. It just means that we got to find other solutions, and so now I'm thinking about like how to find other ways of solving the money problem, and at the same time being like, hey, political pressure works. So now I'm also thinking about how can we embed ourselves more in the political process and in municipal politics. Community housing can solve the problem of housing insecurity. Absolutely. But is that really the issue? Community is the solution. And the housing problem is not really a housing problem. It's an inequity problem. It's an economic problem. It's a really long, it's a problem that has a really long history, The fact that there's some kind of collective decision making that has to happen around buying and selling means that there's a downward pressure on prices. But as soon as you start subdividing and you start saying that, oh, the stone you stand on is yours and you could do with it whatever you want, that means that there's no relationship between you, no social relationship, no intimacy between you and the next person. Because you don't have to negotiate space. You don't have to, there's no economy between you and your neighbor, It's between you and this open market, And the only variables that you consider is how much light comes in, and like how much noise there is, and how close it is to the downtown core or close to transport. What's going to happen when people live together because they want to, not because they have to? But what's going to make people come together? That's a big challenge, I think. But it's a challenge and an incredible opportunity.